Welcome back, artists. Spring is beginning, which means summer art vendor events and art fairs will be happening soon, so you will want to be prepared with your online presence for networking and art collectors. Hi, I'm Lauren Marie Nitka, and this is my bite-sized podcast for artists to think like entrepreneurs. Whether you are an artist, maker, or creative entrepreneur, I believe that you will find something here that you can apply to your life. And I apologize for my voice on this episode. I might sound a little raspy or dry because I am just getting over a cold. But we've been working our way through my freebie Start Your Art Business checklist, which you can get in the link below. We've covered dedicating a studio space for work and having a designated professional email address in the first episode. In our last episode, we covered setting up your business finances by registering your business with the state, opening a business checking account, recording revenue and expenses, and securing a P.O. box. If you haven't watched those yet, be sure to check them out in the link below. Today's episode is all about your first steps in establishing a portfolio-based website and developing a payment system plan which can be integrated together. I recently went to a gallery talk where 5 local curators discussed how to break into the Milwaukee art scene, and they covered a lot of information, but they also had varying opinions regarding an artist's online presence. These different galleries have different end goals, much like we as artists have different goals. One gallery was a commercial gallery where people go in with the intention of buying art, prints, and merchandise. Most of the other galleries were not in the business of directly selling art, rather they were more about showing art for the sake of art, much like a museum. And this is the great split in the art scene. You have this academic side, the museums, the institutions, not-for-profit galleries, that really isn't about selling art to collectors or everyday people, but more about creating dialogue in the art world. And then you have this business side of the art scene, collectors, patrons, commercial galleries, fairs, and more. This is about selling your work in exchange for money. And this great split can sometimes divide artists. I ultimately decided not to pursue my master's in fine art, not only because it was extremely expensive, but because of this academic institution mindset. I knew that mindset would in some ways inhibit me from making a living off of my art, because it is in fact all about contributing to art academia, rather than creating a career that sustains me through the sale of my art. I wouldn't be able to make a return on my investment into my education, and I'd be yet another well-educated individual with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt. In some more extreme views on this end of the spectrum, it can be frowned upon to sell your art. In fact, listing prices or having an online storefront can be off-putting in this circle and to those curators that you may want to impress. My end goal has always been to make a living from my art, selling my work to collectors, getting in local storefronts, collaborating with other small businesses. I don't view that as demeaning the value of my work, nor do I make fine art pieces all about what will sell in the market. I'm still innovative and exploring what I want to explore in art. I just want everyday people to have the opportunity to interact with and purchase my art, whether that is a high-end fine art oil painting or a print or even stickers. I'm not as concerned with the up-and-coming who's who, but rather I'm letting the free market decide if I've produced something that is worth compensation for. But this is not to say I don't find value in galleries or museums. I love studying art and attending openings, going to museums. I just need to work with galleries that align with my goal of being an art entrepreneur. And when I'm not getting the opportunity to show in those galleries, I have to take it upon myself to go out and make opportunities. But back to the topic of this video, building your website. To do that successfully, you need to find your end goal. Are you more of an academic who wants to be in non-commercial galleries, or are you an entrepreneur creating work that you will ultimately sell? And you could be somewhere in between, but have this goal of yours in mind as we go through what to include on your website. I have on the Start Your Art Business checklist to build your website before you establish your social media presence on purpose. We will get more into social media in the next episode, but first let's focus on your website because this is your main source of information, your home base. This is where you want to drive your target audience to, whether that be collectors or curators for a portfolio of your work, upcoming events about you as an artist, contact information, and if applicable, shopping. Whether someone finds you in person, on social media, or anywhere else, you want to drive traffic to your website, and your website will most likely be integrated into your payment system plan. When shopping around for a website host, you will need to keep a few things in mind. You will need to purchase your domain name, which for me is laurenmarienitka.com. No one else can have that exact domain because I currently have paid for it. This must be renewed annually. I suggest you use your name, which was probably your business name that you registered, just as mine is Lauren Marie Nitka. And you will also need to purchase a website subscription to build your website on, such as Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, Shopify, or WordPress, to name a few. I go through Squarespace for all my website needs, who through their portal allows me to renew my domain, which is then managed by them on my behalf. It's $20 a year for me to renew. I also built my website through Squarespace. They have a variety of subscriptions, though I've selected one with e-commerce, SEO, and email campaign add-ons. When shopping around, you'll find websites have a variety of options, but you'll want to look out for a few key things. If you want just a basic informational website, you may not need e-commerce at this time. E-commerce is online shopping, but you may be looking just for a portfolio page on your website to display your work. However, if in the future you plan on selling prints or merchandise, I strongly suggest building on a website platform that allows you to upgrade to e-commerce easily later on, so you don't have to rebuild on a completely different website. Squarespace is easy to upgrade, and it has third-party integrations for shipping and print on demand. I use Printique for prints, which is integrated right into my e-commerce page. I also have a separate portfolio page where I display my work throughout the years. My shop is for art, merchandise, and prints that are currently available, while my portfolio is a collection of my fine art. You may wonder what to put in your portfolio and how to organize it. In my portfolio, I have 3 different collections of art I've created along with commissions I've completed. While I do want to do a future deep dive into your portfolios and what to include, for the purposes of this video, as an overview of your website, include the work that you want to best represent who you are as an artist, or that you'd be willing to continue to create commissions for. For example, I am prepping for a solo show in May that will include imagery from my Greendale collection and my Folklore collection combined. As a Christian artist, I often create works as a specific act of worship at live worship nights, so I'm adding to that collection frequently as well. And my commissions are up to date with pieces that I'd love to create for others or that represent my best work when I am pushed out of my comfort zone. I don't have every piece I've ever made since high school or college on here, and I've made a lot. I don't have any teaching samples on here because that's not the purpose of this portfolio. My portfolio is the best representation of who I am as an artist currently. This portfolio is for art collectors, general customers, other artists, and art galleries to gain a better sense of my artistry. There's a few options for organizing your portfolio. Could be by year, media and material, subject matter, or in my case, it is by collection. My e-commerce is also by collection, so customers can easily locate merchandise and prints to buy associated with that collection across my website. Consistency is key across your website. In addition to your portfolio page and possible e-commerce page, you'll also want to include an about page and a contact page. Your about page could be just a basic biography of you in either third or first person if you want to give collectors and customers a basic introduction. I also suggest adding an artist statement as well, which is typically in first person. Here's a book that I read that really helped me build my artist statement and biography. We will need to do a deep dive into your artist statements and biographies later, but the gist of it goes back to Who is your target audience? Academics, established galleries, art institutions? If so, you will need a more formal artist statement that appeals to that. If your target audience is full of collectors and general customers, then write something that is more easily digested for someone outside of the art world that may be interested in your work. Your contact page should only include information you are comfortable with being public. In Squarespace, I can have a website form that people can fill out, but in case that form is for whatever reason not accessible or not working, I have my email address listed. Your P.O. box could be on here too, but the bare minimum would be a form and an email address. Additional optional pages would be events or other services. Events such as future shows, consignment deals, fairs, or workshops. I have a page for this podcast on my website as well. Lastly, as far as pages go, I want to address the very first one your viewers would see if they directly go to your website. The first page you see on your website is your landing page, sometimes called the home page. This page should be engaging with a call to action. Tell your audience where you want them to go. I change this often to either promote an event, a new collection, shopping for merchandise, and more. If your landing page isn't engaging, people will click out of your website instead of diving deeper. One last suggestion I have for the overall aesthetic of your website is to include your logo and your name throughout. Don't leave your audience searching for your name, make it known. So to summarize, your basic website should at the very least include your portfolio, about you information, contact information, and an interesting landing page. You could also add an events page or e-commerce when you're ready, or any other broad category like other services or podcasts that pertain to your business. But now it is time to talk about the behind the scenes. Building a beautiful website is just the beginning, and I did not know about this next step for years until I sat down with a marketing professional. SEO, or search engine optimization, is key to marketing your website online. This is a necessity. Whatever web builder you go with, make sure you get the plan that allows you to customize your SEO. Here is where you will include keywords and phrases that search engines like Google will use to generate your website when someone searches for that thing. I took time to build my SEO, so I'm not saying you need to do this immediately when setting up your business, but be sure to subscribe to a web builder that lets you customize your SEO. I'll dive more into this later. Another step behind the scenes is for artists that want to set up e-commerce. I love Squarespace because when I add an item to my inventory or for online shoppers, it automatically adds that item to a point of sale system. I believe Shopify works much the same. On the app on my iPad or iPhone, Squarespace lets me begin an in-person transaction, which takes me to a point of sale system that is integrated with Square. A couple of things to note. Squarespace and SquareUp are not the same company. Squarespace is a domain host and web builder, while SquareUp is a credit card reader and they have their own point of sales. Squarespace has a point of sales system for in-person sales like at fairs or at a store, and it is linked to SquareUp. I use the SquareUp credit card reader in this system. But I also then have an account with SquareUp, which I then use to ring up commissioned art sales, track invoices for services, and to create contracts. If someone is shopping separately from me online at home through my website, then it is processed through Stripe, an online credit card processor. So find a website that either now or in the future has e-commerce options linked to a point of sales system. If you don't plan on having e-commerce and you don't need much in the way of point of sale systems for fairs, you'll still need a game plan for when you do sell the occasional work of art, which then you could sign up for SquareUp separately. I also have Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo set up, but Zelle is another one, Apple Pay, you name it. It's good to have backup options for those customers, especially at fairs. I have a little plaque with QR codes, usernames, and a list of ways that customers can pay. But do not accept checks unless it is from a person you know in person. I have a few in-person clients that I know do pay me with checks, but that is only because I know that they are a real person with a real bank account writing real checks. I do not accept checks at fairs or through any online inquiries. I'm even careful with some of those cash apps as really only being a backup form of payment. Your credit card processor, if it is through SquareUp or if you are using Stripe for online e-commerce, can also process debit cards. There's too many scammers out there to take risks with checks. We've covered a lot, so let's review. You need a website that offers search engine optimization and is easily upgraded to e-commerce and a point of sale system. You'll need to purchase your domain name and pay the subscription to the web builder you choose. On your website, you'll want at least a portfolio page, an about page, and a contact page with an interesting landing page. As your business grows, you can add events pages, other services, or even a podcast page. For best results, pick a website that is integrated with a printing company like Printique and offers streamlined shipping for online purchases, along with a point of sale system for those in-person sales. Establish a payment system. I have SquareUp connected to my Squarespace point of sales for when I am selling in person at fairs, which takes my online e-commerce inventory as my in-person inventory. If someone is shopping online, the credit card processor I use is Stripe, which is integrated into my website. If someone purchases a commission for me or requests a workshop, these are not online inventory items, so I instead create a separate invoice in SquareUp and email the client the invoice to pay online. Be prepared with additional payment options like Venmo or Cash App for special situations, but do not take checks. Next week, we will cover the topic of social media, what platforms to be on, and what a social media plan could look like. See you next Friday.